Pod Squad, welcome in to another episode of Stripe It Like It's Hot. And we've got a hot one in the building today. I am psyched. Mr. Nate Swink is in the house, who has an unreal story. And I guarantee, even if you don't do anything welding, which is what he does, you're probably going to hear something this dude says and goes, dang, that's right. I should do it that way. So thank you for coming in. Nate Swink, how are you?
Good, brother. Yeah, been trying to get this put together for a little bit. So glad we could finally put it together. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Let's call it like it is. We're hardcore. It's Saturday at 7 a.m. We're both on the West Coast. You said you were recording a podcast the other day at 6 a.m. So this is just what we do.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah, whatever. Well,
But
thanks for
are
coming
you
on.
technically on the West Coast? Do they count that if you're up in Canada?
It's the same West Coast, you go. The difference is when the big earthquake comes, I'll be fine. And
Yeah.
you'll be in California, which
See, like West Coast, I only picture California, West Coast, you know?
there's a whole other world out there.
Yeah,
Nate.
I know.
You're welcome to come up here anytime. Don't
You
come in the
have
winter.
beaches?
Lakes.
Oh, okay. So you're
I
more
mean,
a little inland, right?
sure. Yeah, a little bit inland. Yeah. A little bit colder. Yeah. Not quite
Oh.
California, but
Right
have you
on.
been in California your whole life? Are you born and raised there?
Yeah, born and raised in Simi Valley, California. And like 2.5 years ago, the majority of my family left like the chapter of Exodus in the Bible, and they all moved to North Carolina.
Oh,
Like
that's the other side.
there was like a caravan of 8 vehicles all going together to North Carolina, and I
So
stayed.
there's one swink left. Well,
Well, me and my grandma, we're the only
oh,
people with the last name Swank in California anymore.
you
Yep,
too. You and Granny can build a swink empire in California.
that's it.
That's amazing. Well, I got a bunch of stuff written down I want to ask you. I'm probably not going to look at my notes that much because you're just a cool dude and we're just going to jam. And I like it. And, hopefully over the course of this conversation, we learn some great stuff and value is given. And yeah, we usually
Awesome,
edit.
man.
I didn't tell you this before. We edit out the curse words. Did I tell you that before? It's a very family friendly podcast. Is that going to be hard for you?
No, I got you.
You
I'm working on it.
I just saw his teeth like bear down. All right, let's get into it. So something struck me right off the bat. So just so you know, when most people come on, I've known you for a little bit, right? Because I got involved with Top Contractor School. That's the mutual connection. You're wearing the Top Contractor School hat today. So I just joined that in about 6 months ago, and I'd seen your name, but I didn't know much about you before. I intentionally don't do a ton of research into people before they come on because I just want to jam out and figure it out as I go along. So one thing that caught me right away is you said in your forum you started this whole thing at no, you started your journey of entrepreneurship at 16. What's that all
Yep.
about?
Yeah. So 16, dropped out of high school, got a DBA. Swink's Welding and Fabrication was the first DBA. And then later in the career, switched, rebranded to Swink's Welding Inc. So it sounds more, you know, more sexy, not like a little mom and pop. So yeah, I started at 16, dropped out of high school in 10th grade. My dad was an entrepreneur. His dad was. I'm going to assume that his dad was too. So, it was in the blood. I just came home from school one day, sat down, talked to my dad, said, hey, I'm already welding. I'm already making money welding, and I want to do this full time. So it started with, okay, well, let's take you out of regular school, that's like whatever, 8 to 3 o'clock. And let's put you in like a study as you go program, like whatever it's called. Like they give you a packet and you go in once a week, then you got to fill out the packet. Anyway, so then I just used that time to work even more and never did my schoolwork. And finally was like, screw this. And my dad said, hey, as long as you got a plan, also I'll help you. Like I'll stand by you dropping out of school. Because legally he could get in big trouble, if your kid leaves school but still living in the house at 16. That's a big deal for sure.
Well, even just like socially, people look at that like that's just not common, right? Like most
Yeah.
parents would be, whippersnapper, go get her done. Wow. So okay, let me ask you this: did you have a plan, or because I'm just thinking of what I was like at 16, and bro, there's no way. There.
Yeah, no, I had a plan, man. I was working a lot. I was spending time. My dad has a business that he does anywhere from like 8 to 10 million a year. Um, he's been doing it for like 35 years now. So I did have a plan, and he saw that I was driven and looked to learn and looked to strive for more all the time. And I would spend, man, I remember so many nights staying up with it every night, Monday through Friday. I would see him at the kitchen table on his computer working, like a little bit after dinner. Like he'd come home, eat dinner with us, spend time with us for a couple hours, real intentional, and then boom, start working again from the kitchen table till midnight or 1 in the morning. And then he'd be gone at 6 a.m. So I saw how hard he worked. He saw that I kind of emulated that and was working hard as well, right? Things are caught, not taught. That's what Ed Milet says. And I always like that one. People are going to catch on to things by watching you, not by what you say. Anyway, so I would spend a lot of time with him. Hey, what are you doing? You estimating? How does that work? How do you read a P&L statement? How do you do this? How do you do that? And I knew how to do all that by the time I was like 19, just by spending what's overhead? What's profit? How do you build overhead in a new company? How do I know what all of it is? How do I build an hourly rate out? How do I approach this conversation with a customer, right? How do I write a clean proposal? And at the age of 16 to 18, I'd spend a lot of evenings sitting there with him learning and hey, how do I read plans, right? All this stuff.
No
Um,
way,
yeah.
man. That must have been cool for him? Like to have. How many kids does he have? You got brothers and sisters?
Right now there's a total of 8 of us. Back then there was 6 of us total.
There's 8 of you. How old are you now?
27.
Man, it's a lot of swinks. Okay, so there's 8 of you, and he takes the time and he starts teaching you all this stuff, and he supports your decision and your plan that you got. Man, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty cool. So
Yeah, and
you've
then
been.
he helped up me financially to go get mentorship. So I was in the Boy Scouts as well, and I was helping them. How did this whole thing play out? So I was at a city of Simi Valley small business meetup at the age of like 16,
That's
16,
awesome.
17. Yeah, it was right around there, late 16, early 17. And I meet this guy named David, and worked for some corporate company selling paper products or whatever. So he was there to network, whatever it was. I get to talking with him, say I'm in welding. He says, hey, this upcoming weekend, I'm in the Boy Scouts. I'm like, oh, cool. I used to be a Boy Scout, but now I'm not because I'm working a lot. Um, he says, well, we're going up to this guy, Jack Compton's house, who is just this legend in welding, and he's going to help us get the welding merit badge. And we're actually going to be the first troop in the United States to get the welding merit badge because Jack Compton was the one that created the welding merit badge. And he's like, and you just said you just started your welding company and you were a Boy Scout. Why don't you come up with us and you can learn and you can help the kids and whatnot as well, the scouts? And I said, that'd be awesome. So I go and meet Jack, and Jack immediately takes a liking to me. And Jack's like, hey, look, I do. And this guy was a union iron worker for 35 years, or no, for 45 years, and taught at College of the Canyons as a welding instructor for over 30 years. So anytime he would teach during the school year with welding and certified welding and TIG welding, all these different things, he was the head of American Welding Society in the state of California. And then also in the summers when he wasn't in school teaching, he would go work as a union iron worker welding or do consulting for aerospace companies, all sorts of things. Most knowledgeable guy I know about welding.
And you just happen to be introduced to this dude.
And I just happened to be introduced to him, and he's the goat of weld. Not the goat of business. He's not a businessman. He's a welder. He knows how to weld. He's a very good teacher on how to weld.
So when first time you met him, you're like, how old now? Is this still 16?
I think I might have been early 17, just turned 17.
So is this like the gas on the fire of the Swink ambition to weld the world? Like that must have been crazy. Like I don't know who Jack Compton is, but if he's that big a deal, that
Yeah,
probably
he's
was everything.
Vietnam vet. He's a hardcore dude. He's Mormon, very like devout Mormon USA guy, man. He's all about the USA, all about pro America. Just like the typical, Vietnam vet. Just like he's an awesome guy. Would give his shirt off his back for anybody. Him and I are still good friends to this day. I think he's 83 now. And I try to get dinner with him and his wife at least once a year, stay in touch and show him some gratitude.
Amazing.
So anyway, he told me, he's like, hey, you can do training with me. I charge $50 an hour and I do one-on-one training. And you're not going to get that anywhere else. The only way to learn welding is you go to a school and there's like 50 kids and one teacher. And how do you think that ratio works? Do you think you're getting a lot of one-on-one time that's going to accelerate how fast you learn? So I went home, talked to my dad. I'm like, hey, I can't afford $50. I'm just freaking like doing little side jobs. Maybe I'm making a couple $100 a week or whatever. I'm still learning. He says, hey, look, you're not going to college. We'll help cover some of this expense. So I ended up going to Jack's like every other day for 3 to 4 hours a day for like a year. And within 6 months of going there, I got LA City certified, which is a very prestigious certified structural welding certification in the city of Los Angeles and California that nobody gets it before they're like in their 20s or anything. And I had it like a week after I turned 18 or the week of me turning 18. So that's kind of, yeah, the gasoline on the fire.
Man, you've been all in on this welding thing. Why welding? Like what? Why?
I don't know. I just liked it. I spent a couple summers working with my uncle in Arizona. He really taught me how to really get after it, like that hardcore, rough around the edges part of me. That comes from my time with him for sure. Because my dad isn't really like that. A little bit, but my uncle was straight up like, I'm gonna kick this thing's ass and get it done. You know what I mean? Like, would work. I was 13 and 14 when I went out to Arizona to work with him. We would work 18-hour days in Arizona in the summertime. We would start like whenever it got a little bit cool, we would start and then we would just keep going. And then when it was hot out, we would go work inside that shop building instead of outside. So that's when I really learned like some just hardcore, just get down and get this shit done. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Well, I know you probably do a lot different day-to-day stuff now than when you were 19, but do you still work like that? Are you still hardcore?
Yeah, no, that's what I carried that through everything I do.
Very nice.
I'm
Very
gonna
nice.
knock it out.
So you've also dropped hints. I should have said this at the beginning, by the way. Well, maybe I did briefly, but like, yeah, your content, man, it's unbelievable. You've been on a tear the last like 6 months, and it's legit great content. I called you the next Hormozy because you have this ability to like say something like so a 5-year-old could explain it, but it's actually a complex business topic, and I just love that. Anyways, even on a tear, obviously business is doing well. Like this, what does business look like now?
Yeah, so I'm 27, just over the last couple years did I take it serious, like within, let's see, by the time I was 20, my business was doing like 1.5 million, 1.25 million without even really like trying. Like, I'm not trying to if anybody here is doing it, I'm not trying to be an ass or anything, but
Oh, I'm gonna ask you how that went, so don't worry. Yeah.
and I pretty much like stayed right at there, 1.25 million, 1.5 million until I was 25. Yeah.
And that's all structural steel. Like we talking commercial builds, stuff like that.
It all started residential because I couldn't afford the payment terms on any commercial jobs. It'd kill me.
Yeah, yeah,
So a
fair enough.
lot of it was just like mobile certified welding, fabrication, installation of like small structural steel projects. Average project size was probably only, 10, 15 grand, 20 grand. Um, so got into that and then, partied still until I was like 23, 24, and then just started taking it serious where I'm like, hey, I can actually build this thing out. I can learn more. I can devote myself to learning more than anybody else because that's really the game right there. It's like um, if you're just fully committed and obsessed and you want to learn and learn and learn and learn and just keep going and going and going and nothing will satisfy you, you're gonna blow up. You're gonna kill it because no one else will outwork you. Um, and that's where I'm at now. Now we'll do 6 million this year, and last year we did 2.6.
It's a big jump.
So yeah, big jump, and we're doing it profitably, and the wheels aren't flying off the thing. Next year we'll be at 10 or 12. Um, and then my goal is to be at, excuse me, that bacon's coming up.
Oh, it's all good. Is it Canadian back bacon or regular bacon?
It was just Costco bacon.
Yeah, we got Costco. Good enough.
But the goal now that I'm pushing for is to be a 9-figure company in the next 8 years.
Ooh. Oh man. Okay, well,
So which that might push to 10 years, but the reason why you crunch goals is because even if in 8 years, let's say I'm at 80 million in 8 years, that ain't a loss. So,
no.
that's another thing. Like when you're goal setting, you want to make it tight, a little bit tight, a little stressful, because then if you don't hit it, you'll come very, very close and you'll have a lot of momentum. And if you don't hit it that year, you'll hit it within a couple of years after, depending on how big the goal is. So my goal was to have an 8-figure company before I'm 30. Now I'll have an 8-figure company before I'm 29. And by the time I'm 30, I should be doing about 20 million in revenue and have a personal salary of probably like 1.2 million with distributions and salary.
You got this all drawn out, don't you?
Yeah. Let's go.
You know, kind of similar to what you just said. One of my favorite things my first coach ever taught me. He's like, "Cam, what's your 2 year or I think it was 3 year? What's your 3 year goal?" And I didn't have one, right? Because I didn't know what I was doing. So I gave him some hokey answer. And it was a half decent answer. But he's like, you know what? Take your 2 or 3 year goal, get it done in 6 to 9 months. Because the steps that you're going to need to do to get the 2 to 3 year goal are the exact same. You might as well just compress it. You said crunch it, just compress it down and do it quicker. The steps aren't going to be different, right?
Yeah, that's all it is, right?
That's it.
And by no means do I have any of this figured out. You're always evolving and learning. But what I've learned from Brian and people in TCS community is there's like a formula to it. And once you build the formula and the systems, right, you're managing the work and you're selling the work, or you're producing the work and you're selling the work.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you have another team managing the money and making sure that there's compliance with state laws, all sorts of laws, right? And then you just keep building each team, and it all starts with the sales. Once you sell a bunch, okay, now I need another PM. Don't switch the sales guy to the PM. Keep him selling. Otherwise, you're on a roller coaster where you're 2 million, 1.5, 2.5, 1.5, because you're not adding people to it. Right. So
when you're 20, I gotta know, when you're 20 years old and you're doing over $1 million in revenue, like people will hear that right now and they're gonna go, whoa, like I've been in my business for like 10 years and we don't even do half a million.
well,
How
that's
what
because you're a control freak. But you should be able to do it. Me and Daniel Good were talking about this. I like to call him on my Friday evenings when I'm driving home from work.
nice.
But you should be able to do like at least 1.5 to almost 2 million a year, even if you are a control freak.
What's the key to that? How did you do that at 20?
Just
Pushing what?
pushing everything.
Work more?
Work more, be in a rush, always be in a rush.
Do you think it's more like a sales? Okay, before I ask you that, okay, when you were making the $1 million at 20, like I said, people are gonna just be like, wow, it's crazy. And it is impressive. Uh how much how much were you working? What was the key to doing
But
a
you know
million
what? It
bucks?
it was at 21 actually.
Close enough. Like whatever.
21. I'm
Don't
trying
ask
to do the timeline based on like anyway.
21's still super impressive. Like don't ask what I was doing at 21. So people will hear that and go, that's super impressive. But like, what do you think? You said it's a control issue. That's the biggest thing that stops people.
Yeah, and I just figured that out a couple of years ago.
What does that mean exactly? What were you controlling?
Well, you want to be the one to get all the credit. You want to be the one to make all the decisions. Um, you know, that's a problem. You're not going to grow if you're doing that. I do I will like jump around into conversations or kind of just appear in my shop and like do a walkthrough in my shop once a day. I have a shop foreman. If anybody in my shop doing the fabrication asks me a question, like I don't know the answer, go to your foreman. And then he'll ask me a question sometimes too. I'll say, Miguel, you're in charge. What do you want? Do you need more people? Do you need more resources? You tell me and I'll make it happen. But the problem you're asking me, you already know the answer to, so just go do it. Like if you make a mistake, we'll figure it out later.
Mm. How do your
So
people respond to that? Do they appreciate that?
yeah, I think for the most part they do.
Yeah. Maybe not
I
in the
mean,
moment
don't
when they got to make a tough decision, but you see the bigger picture, right?
yeah, and don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'll get in and like not micromanage, but I'll get in and be like, hey, no, this needs to be like this, or hey, what's up with this? Tighten this shit up. Like the quality slipping a little bit over here. But overall, it's kind of like, here's the problem. I don't know. Maybe try this, but you guys figure it out. So
That's awesome.
that's the hard thing to do too, because a lot of things, especially now bringing on project managers, like I could do it way faster than they can do it.
Mhm.
Not that they're dumb. It's just they're not me. They haven't been doing it as long. And I have to sometimes, instead of answering an email right away that I'm CC'd on, I got to be like, no, that's the PM's deal. He needs to answer that, or he needs to fail so that he learns what he needs to do in a certain order so he doesn't fail. You know what I mean? Because
That one's the hardest. Yeah.
if every time he's like busy, I jump in and save his ass because I see it needs to get done, and he doesn't fail, and then he's like, oh, that's what happens if I don't do that on time. Then
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's the struggle now, is just building that out, getting that figured out.
Yeah.
SOPs right now I know that I can kind of just bulldog my way to the 6 million mark, but to get past that, I'm going to need a lot of SOPs, a lot of systems. Like, how do you structure your day systems? Like, hey, here's what you should be looking for um, on a project. Like, step by step, here's how you manage a project. Step by step, here's the things that will, you know, come out of the blue and totally jack up your schedule or jack up your project, whatever, like things to look for. So now I'm building all that out so that as we add people in management, it's like, here's your training material, you know, here's the play, here's the formula for success. Just go do it. and make sure you follow it. And we'll check in weekly and make sure that you're following it and have meetings. But here's the formula. And that way you don't have a bunch of different people all doing, oh, this is how I do it. This is how I do it. This is how I do it. And then your customer's getting a different experience from 5 different people when the experience should be the same. Like if you go to Chick-fil-A, the experience is always the same. Same uniforms, same my pleasure, same fast service. So everything's the same.
I wouldn't know because I'm in Canada and I'm pretty sure we don't got Chick-fil-A. I don't think I've ever had Chick-fil-A. That makes me sad, but we actually use the same
Well, you come
analogy.
into the retreat in Pittsburgh, or
Um,
not the retreat, but the meetup.
no, I'm not going to Pittsburgh. Baby's due any day. So,
Oh, wow. You're
oh,
having a baby too? Holy cow.
yeah, that's one of the things I was going to ask you about.
Four,
Yeah.
there's 4 top contractor babies coming.
Woo, man.
Are you
Wait,
going to the retreat in Florida?
when's that? That's in January.
Yeah.
I hope so. I really hope so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would love to
Just
be at
make
that
it
one.
happen. Bring the wife and the baby, because
They
my
probably
wife and
will.
baby will be there. Brian's wife and baby will be there. Bill's will be there.
It'll just
And
be a daycare, giant
I think
top
I'm
contractor
missing,
daycare.
I
Yeah,
think I'm missing one other person.
it's a lot
But
of
yeah,
balls.
we're trying to have like I'm like, told my wife, let's bring your mom so she can watch the newborn while you and I go out.
Oh, I hope that works out well. Yeah,
Ugh.
good, happy convincing. Um, man, like good for you. Like this is impressive stuff. Like impressive stuff that you've not just that you're figuring it out and like you like you're dialing in these systems and processes, but just like I don't know, man. Young people making $1 million revenue when you're like in your early 20s can just be a recipe for disaster. But you batten down the hatches.
No, it was like I got arrested when I was 22 or 23. Did a lot of drinking, partying,
Yeah,
all sorts of debauchery. Is that the word?
that's the correct word. Spell it for me right now. No, don't
No
do that.
way.
I'm just joking.
Remember, I only have a 10th grade education. I dropped out in sixth, or not in 6th grade. That'd be bad. When I was 16, I dropped out.
That's it. Yeah.
10th grade. That's it. But I know how to spell better than like anybody I know.
It's funny what business teaches you. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's so true. So you and you said Bill, old Billy, Bill Ryman, you guys have the Top Contractor School podcast. I don't want to like, brag. I'm probably the biggest fan of it, but regardless, you guys are killing it. Every week episodes come out. The first episode, you and Bill were kind of giving your backstories, and you just casually mentioned, just oh yeah, I lost $400,000 a couple years ago and nearly went out of business, but glad we figured that out. Wink. What was that? What's happening there?
That was last year, bro.
Was last year? Was this like a one job went south, or is this growing pains, or
This was
both?
2 jobs went south.
Oh, oh, oh,
Both the jobs were 7-figure projects.
oh. Well, that gets you really close to 8 figures when you start doing 7 figure projects. So
But
what
yeah,
happened?
our
What
average
happened?
job size right now is like 280, kind of a weird number, but it's like right around there. 280 to 350 is our average job size. We have contracts right now of 1.1, 350, 285, 310.
Now, forgive me because I'm not a welder as much as I look like it. I presume at that value, we're talking commercial work,
Some commercial, some residential, all structural steel though.
structural
We
systems.
have
This is
a
like
we
high end residential work.
Yeah, like big ass 8,000 square foot, 9,000 square foot houses. Some are smaller. Some are only like 5,000 square feet, 5,200, 4,800. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So in California, if you're building a custom home and say it's like 5,000 square feet, it's going to cost you about, depending on where you're building it, but usually 150 to 220 or 230 in structural steel.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of the homes out here that you want a large span, you want big open windows, all of that equals steel to support it. You got earthquakes here,
Yep.
like we're we're in the what would it be? Santa Susana Mountains near there. Like we're near the fault line too. Like the fault line, I think, cuts through parts of Santa Monica and Malibu. And like that's where we do a lot of work.
Gotcha. Okay.
And a lot of it's like on little bit of hillside. So
Gotcha. So we've done some six-figure projects now in our company, a few over the last couple of years, and I've learned a huge amount, like good and
you
also
learn
some
yeah.
painful lessons. Yeah, in
Dude, if
fact,
you do so I did two seven-figure projects. Well,
tell me about them. Yeah.
so the beginning of let's see, the beginning of 2021, I signed a job for 1.2 million commercial project. And then towards the end of 21, I signed another project, 850-ish. Turned into, I think, right around a million with change orders. And both of those went sideways because it was me selling, it was me project managing, and there was no shop foreman. So what we do, we're structural steel and miscellaneous fabricator and erector. So there's a shop fabrication side where you have all these blueprints. You got to cut material to size. You got to have a plate that has holes in specific locations within a 16th of an inch. That goes on a column or a beam that attaches in the field. There's studs to attach wood. There's saddles to attach wood beams. There's a lot to it. And you have to have somebody in your shop as the dedicated like foreman or QC to make sure everything's going correctly. I didn't have that. I was doing that too. And needless to say, everything got totally jacked up quick because you need systems on how to do these things. And
Was the biggest
those
problem?
jobs
Yeah, sorry,
I
go ahead.
should have made if I was set up properly with the right management, and our location was too small. Like over the last when did I move in there? Over the last like 16 months, we went from a shop building and yard that in total was less than 3,500 square feet to now we have almost a 1 acre yard and a shop building that's 5,000 square feet and an office that's 1,000 square feet. So we literally over 20x'd our space in our location in less than a year and a half. And that made a huge change because, again, structural steel. Like in our yard right now, we have 8 semi loads of steel, 8 times 40,000. 8 times, yeah, whatever. I don't want to do math right now. It's 480,000 pounds of steel.
Yeah.
It takes up a lot of room,
Yeah.
So anyway, I grew too quick, took on things too quick, but I learned a lot. Those jobs cost me all the profit, didn't make a dime. And then in addition to them not making any money, cost me at least 350 grand to finish them. And I finished them. I got creative. I reached out to the general contractor. I said, hey, I jacked up. I need you guys to float me money. I need early pay. And here's the payment schedule that I want. Instead of getting paid every 30 days, I need small draws every week and I'll get your job done. I said, I'm not going to, I want to maintain this relationship. And they like me. We still do a ton of work for them. This year we'll do about $2 million of work for them.
That's wild. So did they do it? They helped you like as
Yeah.
much as they could. Yeah.
No, they did. They helped me all the way, not as much as they could. They killed it. But
So
it's because of how I structured it all. Like, here's what I want, and here's what will help you. You won't have any hiccups. Your job will get done. You don't have to sue me because I don't perform. Oh, and also, I'm going to give you interest on your early pays. Right? So if you're paying me, let's say it's 45 days ahead of when you're supposed to, I'll pay whatever, I think it was 10% or 13% interest on that money for that time. And then what I'm also having to do is do other jobs that are profitable, smaller jobs that I know I can knock out real quick to fund that job because it was losing money. So all the profit from other projects straight went to keep the lights on We started the beginning of this year, and I'll be completely transparent because that's how I am. We started at the beginning of the year like, hey, dude, I need you to hold your check till Wednesday. Hey, I need you to hold your check till Tuesday. Hey, by the way, we made a mistake. Your check's going to bounce today.
Yep.
That's how January and February went because we were still pulling out of those two jobs. By the beginning
Wow.
of March, we had those two jobs done, and I shifted gears and just sold my ass off because that was most of our backlog too. So in March, we had like, and again, still it's me and one project manager at this point in March of this year. But I did have a shop foreman. So the shop was pretty dialed in and efficient where I didn't have to be involved. And it was me and a PM. Our accounting for the last 18 months has been dialed in for as, you know, of course stuff happens, but for the most part. Anyway, and my backlog was down to like 200 grand because I was focusing on just getting these jobs done and not selling. And then I sold $2 million in 1 month in April of this year.
I remember that.
And then now we're like rolling again. And then we'll sell. Now I have a 1 PM, one estimator, an office admin, a CFO, me, and then I'm interviewing another salesperson and estimator as well. So now we're coming way out of it. Me and Ryan, my estimator, we're going to close on just over $2 million of work this month as well, which will put our backlog at like 4 million. So like totally,
Wow.
you know, and that only happened because when the going got tough, I didn't quit, you know. I took out loans. Some loans were against the business as much as I could take out, against my personal credit as much as I could take out to keep going. Because if you lose 350 grand, you have to get the money somewhere to finish it. It's not like it's gone. No, it's you had to get the money and then use it to finish the job. So where did I get 350 grand from to finish the thing? Well, I got tons of loans, which are huge percentages, which we're still paying off. We'll have them all paid off by the end or middle of next year, you know, because I want to spread that out so it doesn't put a strain on my growth and my current cash flow, you know.
Yep.
Could pay them off sooner, but again, that's like strategic. If you got 100 grand of cash, I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to pay down all my business bills. Now I'm a debt-free business. Okay, but how much money do you have in the bank now? Oh, now I have 10 grand in the bank. Okay, well, you can't make too many big moves with 10 grand. just keep a safety net and, you know, pay your bills. You know, don't pay for big things in cash if you have a business. Doesn't make any sense. You need that working capital to hire people who will make you more money.
Reinvest. That's it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I had to get really
Oh.
creative on all that.
So,
It was a mess.
man, I wish well, thanks for like you just lay it all out there, and that's the way it should be because a lot of businesses have had moments like that. So my next question is how hard was it? Like in the hardest moment, what was your mindset?
I don't remember totally.
Oh, that's not a good sign if you blanked out. What I mean is like
Yeah, I'm trying to just,
we've
but
had
I don't know.
we've
I'm
had some
pretty,
stressful moments and like I think you can go one of two ways. You can just batten down the hatches and go, you know what, I'm just going to be stubborn and figure this out and take out loans like you did and just get her done. Other people just kind of collapse. And some days it's like a mix of both. Like I remember one morning where I was like, I'm going to get this. And by afternoon, I was like borderline in tears. Like, were there moments where you're like, I should just pull the plug on this?
yeah, every week. Yeah. Every week it was like that. And
Man,
every week you're like trying to sell the vision while telling somebody, hey, you need them to hold their check till Wednesday. and keep
man,
them be like, hey, we're good. We're going to get out of this. I got you. You know, you don't know if you're a good sailor until you go through a storm, right? Anybody can sail on smooth seas. So I think in that time I proved to my people that I could sail through some rough waters for sure and get us all home. So I don't know. I look at everything like that was an opportunity to learn things, to prove things to my people on how I lead and how I get things done.
That
So
was going to be my next question. What has been like the trickle down? Because I presume you have people on staff, Nate, who are with you through that. And obviously they don't know everything that's happening. They don't get to see the non-conformance letters and the hey, you're behind schedule letters and hey, we're going to sue you letters. But they probably know at some degree that hey, things are going south. So what has that done for your people?
um not totally sure. I think the culture is kind of weird right now, honestly. I think it's pretty good, but
Hmm.
it can always be better. So like another thing, talk about a roller coaster. Another thing. So we had some bad apples in the company who were in leadership roles as field foremen, and we since then fixed that, and that was in I think March or April as well. And then still some things, me probably not doing things properly how I should, or maybe not treating people exactly how I should as far as safety or different things go, right? You're always overlooking something. It's hard to get
Yep.
everything right in business. So in, let's see, when was this? June, July. I think in June, I got a letter in the mail saying that we're going to be, that 3 employees are petitioning to unionize my company. So that's a whole nother mess that we're in right now. That threw me into a huge like depression thing. Like, dude, people are forcing me to go a certain direction. And, some people might think, oh, you can just tell them to screw off or whatever. It's not how it works. It's all backed by the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, which is a federal thing, just like the IRS. You can't tell them to go shove it. So, which is some of that's kind of unethical that the union has backing from the NLRB and things like that.
Hmm.
But, whatever, I fought it, and we had an election, and we lost the election, and it was in favor for the union. And now we're in the middle of negotiating with them, and we're going to play it to our favor. You know, I think, ultimately got control of the whole thing. And oddly enough, putting the right people in my company that I need to do those kind of projects and go that direction. An estimator called me and wanted to set up an interview. This was like 3 months ago. He's like, yeah, I'm working for a big union company and I sell and manage about $5 to $8 million a year of work. We did some work at LAX, Metrolink, and I'm like in the mix of it. Like, dude, I don't know how to bid union jobs. I don't know the politics behind it. And then this guy just like calls me out of the blue. So then I'm hiring him. I hired him. He's been doing pretty good. And then now we're interviewing more people that he knows. He's like, hey, get this estimator. He's like really big with these, 12-story parking structures. And those are all union. And he knows all those guys that do those. So, now it's all working out. But in the beginning, I was fighting it a lot. And then I just realized it doesn't matter how we play it, we're going to be successful either way.
Hmm.
So a little more bureaucracy, a little more BS to deal with, but it is what it is, right? So we'll see.
It's just another bump on the road. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing with a lot of the union stuff is you know, it's sad because some of the employees they don't understand. It's not going to be so much better, right? A union company versus non-union, the safety aspects, the pay aspects, the benefit aspects. At the end of the day, there's not a major difference.
Mhm.
But they sell it like there is. And that's why a lot of companies are easily petitioned by employees to go union, because you'll get somebody in there saying, to Cam's employees, hey, you can make this much an hour and this and that. And it's like, well, yeah, or you can still do what you're doing and make that in a couple years, or you can, anyway. So it was a whole ordeal. So yeah, now more than ever, we're got to be highly profitable because we have an attorney representing us in negotiations, since we already have so many assets and a shop and a field staff, and technically those are two different unions. And so we want to make sure we get a really good contract that represents what we do, because otherwise that could totally kill us, getting a bad contract that limits what we do. So we hired the best attorney, literally the best attorney in the state of California, that represents union negotiations. And you can, imagine how expensive that is, about $1,200 an hour. So, yeah, our bills are close to 10 to 12,000 a month on attorney fees minimum until we get in a contract. So we're just,
Wow.
working through all the bumps in the road. It is what it is. At the end of the day, we would have had to go union anyway, but I would have liked to budgeted for the costs,
Yeah.
not just have all these costs spring up and have to make it work.
Fair enough.
So
So one of my last questions for you is all this union stuff, all this $1.2 million jobs going south stuff. Like when I started my business, it was just a hobby. Like there was I didn't see a team of people. I didn't see things growing. I didn't see systems. I didn't see any of that. And when it starts to happen, and at least in my experience, Nate, it was like at every point where a new system was built, a new thing was brought in, a new change was made in this company just to keep the thing going. I always ask myself, like, man, am I sure about this? Like, is this what I should be doing? And ultimately, I've reconciled the fact that I just love building what we're building here. So, my question for you is, when you started this, I don't think you saw unions and big, 7-figure jobs and all that, or maybe you did. What did you
no,
see,
I
and
didn't. I didn't really at all.
how's it changed then?
I think like the biggest thing for me, and I put this out on a lot of content, is I think as a business owner and entrepreneur, if you want to be successful, you cannot have a rigid mentality. You got to be able to be flexible and shift. You can't be, yeah, you got to stand for your values. You got to stand for what you believe in. But at the end of the day, you got to be agreeable and you got to be flexible and be able to shift and pivot. And if not, you're going to end up going out of business. So,
Yeah, but you shift and pivoted like yourself, though. Like you didn't have to go all in on this. This whole 9-figure business endeavor, that's going to be a lot of work. You know that, right? That's going to be a lot of work. Does it get you fired up?
yeah, no, well, what would I do, bro? I don't want to, like, my goal was like, oh, let me get to 10, 15 million and then I'll throw in the towel. And then I saw myself, okay, we started the year totally in the red with like couple $100,000 backlog. Look what I've done in a year, coming out of a mess. I could have built a whole new company from scratch quicker than coming out of this mess. And I'm like, now 12 million isn't really that big of a challenge. So let's keep going. And probably when I get to 100 million, I'm going to be like, okay, what's next? Let's keep going to 150, 200. Like, I don't know. I'm not very easily satisfied. What's the point of being satisfied, right? I think we're all here to do great things. And I think what happens is society suppresses you down and tells you that you should get in this box and shut up and be quiet. Don't make a lot of noise. But every single person has the potential of building whatever they want to build. You just got to have the balls to get out there and do it and make it happen.
Boom. That's going to be like an epic
That's your
TikTok
headline.
TikTok clip. That's the TikTok clip right there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
the other thing too is like, as I get more and more into my spirituality and I'm getting, I'm a Christian, but I'm rough around the edges. So I'm like working on getting closer and closer to God and Jesus and the whole thing is you weren't created by the one that created everything you see just to go live a mediocre life. You know what I mean? Think about that. Like you got all the power behind you of God, the one that created you. So you can go do anything you want because you got the OG on your, behind you helping you out. So there's power and confidence in that as well if people draw from it.
Yeah. And now business is growing, families expanding. This is your first kid coming up here in December.
Yep. Paisley. I
You picked
forget what her middle name's going to be.
you picked the name already.
Oh, yeah. We picked a name like 3 months ago.
Oh, see, this is our third kid. Like, I don't know. We'll figure it out the day the kid pops out. We're at that.
Oh, really? You didn't pick out a name yet?
Nah, nah. I don't know if it's because it's the third one or we're just like whatever, but we'll figure it out. Well, that's good, man. Business is growing, family's expanding. Um, what's give me like your favorite, like I'm just impressed by you. Like like I mean it. You've got this unbelievable blend of like simplicity and complexity. I don't know how you do it. You no, I'm serious. Like you just it
Uh,
impresses me. Give me your favorite piece of or pass along some sort of advice or quote or motivation for people listening who would like to grow their business, because a lot of people who listen to this humble pod are in the asphalt space. They're lots of striping, seal coating guys, and they'd like to do more. They'd like to get into commercial.
yeah,
What's your advice?
I think the biggest thing, and I'm working on figuring out how to like make it part of my brand and trademark it. And that way when I'm on podcasts, I got t-shirts and shit that's all branded, come on.
I'll take one.
So
Yeah.
my biggest thing is taking action, right? And oddly enough, um, that was like always came to mind. And then Brian on the last event, that was the theme of the event in Vegas, was taking action. And I was like, oh, that's my thing right there.
That's it.
So, taking action and not hesitating on things. All right. If you think about something, if you go past a job site or you walk past a contractor and you're thinking, oh, maybe I should go shake his hand. Maybe I should go into the job site and figure out who the project manager is. Oh, there's a banner. Maybe I should call them. Okay, quit thinking about it and just do it. Take action. Call them. Do it. Boom. Oh, maybe I should interview this guy, or maybe I should put an ad out for a sales guy. Okay, do it. Quit thinking about it. And if you don't have time to do it, get someone on your team to do it. But take action. That's the biggest separator. And the funny enough, taking action is very similar to what Ed says, is like do one more, power of one more. Same thing. That's all it is. It's like if you're tired and you want to stop working, make yourself work 5 more minutes. Make yourself work 10 more minutes. And over a week, that compounds to a whole extra hour that you've worked. So, my biggest thing is taking action. And I make sure that when I'm hesitating, like there's certain job sites I'll drive by and I'll be like, oh, I know that contractor. That'd be a good guy to get in with. I'm not like, oh, well, maybe I'll call him tomorrow. No, I'm like, pull over, reverse on the wrong side of the road, stop in front of the freaking banner, take a picture, dial the number, and start slanging on the phone and get a hold of this son of a gun. Hey, do you have this job bought out for structural steel? No, but we are in a couple weeks. Okay, great. Send me the plans. Let me get you a bid. I know I can provide you more value than anybody else can. So you'd be dumb not to work with us. Like, let's go. Just like be very aggressive and take action with it.
That's awesome.
Don't pussyfoot around.
That's awesome. I'm convinced that if I make 10 decisions a day or a week, Nate, that 3 of them are the wrong ones. I'm pretty sure the ratio is like 3 to 10. So
Who
the thing
cares?
is, that's the thing. It's like the net gain of doing the 7 is offsets the 3 like huge, huge, huge,
Yeah,
huge. Whereas some people would look at the 10 decisions and go exactly like you said, yeah, maybe I should do 1 or 2 of those. Maybe I'll try that one. Well, you don't get the benefit of the 7 because you're too worried about the 3. Don't worry about the 3. The 3 look
exactly.
after themselves.
That's the
Yeah.
other thing with taking action is like if you have 70% of the information, That's more than enough to make a decision. Oftentimes it's probably too much. So if you're indecisive and you're waiting because you get anxiety, like I get anxiety, but at the end of the day, it's like, it is what it is. Let's go. It's got to get done. But, if you're waiting till you have all this information, you're going to miss out on so many opportunity. You're going to take forever to grow. Oh, what if the contractor says something rude to me or this or that? I don't want to call them right now. I'm not in the zone. I can't call them. I'm going to write it down and I'll call them Monday morning because I'll be in the zone because it's Friday and I work too much. Shut the heck up and call this guy, you moron. That's why your business is small.
That's
You know,
that's it.
that's literally all it is. Don't overthink shit. Just get it done. Be
Yeah.
aggressive. Push your team. Push everything. If people think that they can do, and now I'm just rambling.
Keep going.
But if people or the industry think that you can do X, then make it twice that and prove everybody wrong and make everybody think you're crazy and just push it. All right. Oh, I've only ever sold 1 million a month or whatever the number is. Okay, great. When you work here, I want you to sell 1.2. Oh, wow. That's okay. Now you're selling 1.2. Good. Now I want you to sell 1.4. Oh, now I want you to sell 1.5. You know what I mean? Push, 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 because there's always another level. And at every breakthrough, there's just more and more and more. So that's it. I could go all day about this stuff, man.
Well, on that note, for those listening and who would like more amazing advice like that, your social content is off the chain. Where do people find you? I'll put it in the show notes.
Yes, it is. I was just blanked out on my own Instagram handle.
Oh, dude, I did that the other day too.
I'm pretty sure it's Nate_Swink.
Dude, I was just looking at it too. What is it? I don't know.
It's Nate_Swink.
Somebody asked me what this podcast was, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes
Nate _Swink.
We're stupid men. We can only think about like one thing at a time. So sorry if we can't switch gears.
Oh man, no. There's the reels and the content on here. I also know you've been putting a lot more on LinkedIn too. That I'm mostly on LinkedIn more than Instagram. But yeah, if for those listening,
my LinkedIn's pretty weak, man. Like honestly, to grow the company as quick as I want to, I need to get heavy into LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is
so
amazing.
If you know, if you know a LinkedIn consultant, let me know.
Yeah. There for those watching on the YouTube machine, there he is. These like this is why you're the next Hormozy. It's like, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. This is how you fix it. I'm Nate Swink. I love it.
Yeah. And again, I don't know everything, but
that's what makes it fun. We don't know everything.
I know enough to get in trouble.
Boom.
And to know enough to get back out of trouble.
Boom. Well, brother, thank you so much. I hope you crush the rest of your year. I hope your wife is doing amazing. All the best with the baby. I imagine I will be seeing your baby in person in January, so that'll be exciting. So
yes, sir.
Keep crushing. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate you.